being so patient and being here. This is Marissa, and welcome to this great evening with Nivedita Chandra and an amazing 1 hour of insightful conversation on decoding mindfulness for personal and professional growth. I'd just like to pinpoint that I know that all of us have been at home, working from home and trying to make it all, seem that it's all okay, but we know the stress, the pressure that it brings with it. And at times you are exhausted, you are asking yourself, did I do anything worthwhile today? When in reality you've done, but you've just reached exhaustion and you just don't know what to do with it. So we have an amazing person with us today, Nivedita, who is going to shed some light and definitely point us in the right direction of being more mindful and being more appreciative of ourselves. To give you all a little bit information and introduction about Nivedita, firstly, she's an amazing person. How do I know this? With my 5 minutes interaction with her so far. And I can tell you that by the end of this session, all of us are going to have a lot to reflect and think and practice. Um, who is Nivedita Chandra? Well, like I said, she is a gold medalist in computer science, and she is also a CEO of Value Mind Technologies Private Limited. She is an ICF coach and who is certified in workplace happiness by University of Berkeley. That's quite interesting. I liked when I read it, workplace happiness. I got hooked. I must tell you that. I
I
think
hope that wasn't an oxymoron.
um, you could say that. I mean, that is something that everybody is trying to achieve in today's world. And what's even more interesting is you have 20 years of corporate and entrepreneurial experience, which I'm sure has a lot of interesting, fascinating stories with a lot of life lessons, which has made you the person you are today. That is, stepping up and uh, extending this hand to help other people realize and reach their true potential. So, on behalf of Jobs for Her and Yes Bank and all the members who are joining in today for this session, I extend a warm welcome, Nivedita, once again. And thank you so much for taking out time to be with us and, to enlighten us. So over to you, and I'm going to be on off video. Just before that, to all our participants, if you have any questions you would like or anything you would like to convey to our speaker today, feel free to drop in your questions in the Q&A box and we will have it answered towards the end of this session. I'll repeat, feel free to send in your questions in the Q&A box and we'll have Nivedita answer it towards the end of the session. Nivedita, it's all yours.
Thank you, Marissa, and thank you. Special thank you for the lovely introduction you gave me. And I hope I am able to do justice to whatever you put on my shoulders for the next 60 minutes. So thank you. And once again, a very warm welcome to everyone who's joining us. So I'm very mindful of the time, and yeah, let's just get started. So mindfulness appears to be a very intriguing word, and you may have come across various definitions for it over the last few years in books or talks or webinars like this. Research suggests that paying attention and immersing yourself in what you're doing in this moment is associated with greater happiness. Yet, lots of people seem to mind wander, and to that, a lot of time, close to 50% of our time, our mind is wandering. So, how do we get out of the habit of mind wandering? How do we pay attention to the moments we are right in them? As you might have guessed, one of the leading strategies for this is mindfulness. But before we get into that, does being mindful mean that you'll never mind wander again? That you'll pay always full, undivided, strict attention to whatever you're supposed to be doing? Maybe not. So there are studies that suggest that mind wandering or daydreaming actually boosts creative problem solving. So it's not that bad after all. But the amount of time that you allow yourself to wander, that's what makes the difference. Without our realizing, our mind takes flight we lose touch with our body, and pretty soon we are engrossed in obsessive thoughts about something that just happened, or we are fretting about the future. And that makes us anxious. And then sometimes we are able to bring our attention back to the present, where we are, what we are doing, and we're feeling. That's mindfulness. Let's take a close look at some of the common definitions for mindfulness. And the first definition I want to share is from Jon Kabat-Zinn. He's a pioneer in mindfulness research, and Jon Kabat-Zinn also founded the Center for Mindfulness. What Jon says about mindfulness is the awareness that arises by paying attention on purpose to the present moment and non-judgmentally. Here, non-judgmentally is the key word. What Jon suggests is not that we refrain from making any meaningful or important decisions or judgments about the world or our interactions with other people, but we observe our own mind in a way that doesn't make a judgment about whether what we're feeling, whether it's right or wrong, what we're doing, whether it's right or wrong, what we're thinking, is it good for us or it's bad for us? So we're not making any judgments about what's happening inside us. In the words of Barry Byrnes, who's an editor of Mindful magazine, and he's defined it very simply, mindfulness is the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not be overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. And this is why I selected this definition to share with everyone here, because it's very, very commonplace. It applies to all of us. Not being overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going around us, and giving the right response to the situation and not reacting to it. While mindfulness is innate, it can be cultivated through proven techniques. You can do it while you're seated, walking, standing. You can do a moving meditation, practice mindfulness while moving, or even lying down. It helps you sleep. And you can insert short pauses into your everyday life, or merge it with other activities like while you're doing yoga or any other sports activities you're doing. When we meditate, it doesn't help us to focus on the benefits that we want to derive from the meditation or force ourselves to pay attention, but rather we should just do the practice and the benefits will follow. When we are mindful, we reduce stress, enhance performance, gain insight and awareness through observing our own mind, and we increase our attention and empathy towards others. So is mindfulness and meditation the same thing? These terms are often used interchangeably. They're closely related, but they are not synonymous. We can practice mindfulness while not doing a formal meditation practice. And there are many kinds of meditations that go beyond mindfulness. The term meditation refers to practices that involve aligning our mind, body, and soul to achieve a particular state of consciousness. That said, mindfulness-based meditation is based on a technique adapted from Buddhist Vipassana and is the most commonly practiced form of meditation. So, moving ahead. Marisa said, I'm a computer scientist, so I believe in science. So I need to know the science behind it. So what's the science behind mindfulness? What have our neuroscience researchers found? In 1982, Jon Kabat-Zinn studied how his program, mindfulness-based stress reduction, also known as MBSR, you could check it up on Google, there's lots of information on that, how that would affect patients with chronic pain. So what he did was he had people go into an MBSR treatment condition or a waitlist condition and looked at the differences in how they rated feelings of pain. And what he found was that after 10 weeks of an MBSR, which involves mindfulness practices, 65% of the patients showed more than one-third reduction in their pain ratings. And more than half of the people showed that the pain was 50% reduced. And when asked why, like, how does that happen? What makes someone's pain go away? Is it their pain itself, or is it the sense somehow that the sensation of pain diminishes? What John found that mindfulness enables people to uncouple the sensory dimension of pain. So how it actually feels from the emotional, evaluative sense of alarm reaction to the pain, and thereby reduce the experience of pain itself, the pain and suffering itself. John continued his work looking at another patient population, people who were afflicted with chronic psoriasis. And what he did was he offered them an opportunity to listen to mindfulness-based practice tapes. And after they did that, after a few months, there was a fourfold increase in skin clearing in the group that listened to the mindfulness practice tapes. So there is enough evidence that it has dramatic impacts on our body. In one research, John Kabat-Zinn paired up with Richie Davidson. He is a professor of psychology at the University of Wisconsin. They studied the immune response to flu shot, and they found that mindfulness practice actually boosts immune function. And I think that's very, very relevant now. Another concept of neuroscience, which is neuroplasticity, that our brain is not static. It keeps evolving and changing based on what we are doing, how we are using our brain. We've learned a lot about the benefits of mindfulness on performance, well-being, health, and even aging. So neuroplasticity helps understand how it actually works, how the mindfulness practice has this influence on us. Our brains are more malleable than were once known to be. And this is what neuroplasticity is. And they change throughout life as a result of the day-to-day experiences and activities. In fact, our brains take shape throughout our life as a result of what we do, who we interact with, how we think, feel, and behave in the world. And this is also the theory behind the growth mindset that is a popular coaching topic these days. Mindfulness is known to improve empathy amongst people, and that helps in improving your emotional self-regulation. Here are some statistics. 47% of the time, our mind is wandering. 70% of leaders report that they're unable to give their full attention in meetings. And time for self, 2% people make time to enhance personal productivity. And this also indicates why we need to consciously practice mindfulness, meditation, whatever you name it. You have to have that practice in your life, whatever you call it. So, what do we do? How do we practice? We know what is mindfulness. We know why we need to do it. Now the question is, what do we need to do? Here is a roadmap of what it would seem for if we are to practice mindfulness. And this is why we are here. This is why corporates these days are so interested in conducting mindfulness workshops for their employees. And in fact, Google has a full a full department on mindfulness practice. Mindfulness leads to self-awareness, better self-management, better motivation, increased empathy, and for our organizations, for the people around us, for our communities. So how do we do that? Coming to the big question, attention. The most limited resource that we have is our attention. The most valuable resource that you could give to anyone is your time and attention. It is limited. You can hold only a finite amount of data and only for a finite amount of time. And it is selective. We observe what we have programmed ourselves to watch for. And this is also what leads to cognitive biases. How do we deal with that? Most of the times, we are functioning off an autopilot. When you are learning to drive a car, you're paying more attention. But now when you're driving back from your work to home, it just happens, autopilot. While your mind is either in the past or in the future, is distracted. Your awareness is superficial. How many times you would be saying your kid or your friend would come, hey, you want to go there, you want to do this, let's do that. And you would be like, just yes, yes, yes. And then, just, what did you just say? Could you repeat that? And our action is driven by habit patterns and assumptions. We do things the way we are habituated to do without giving much reason or much attention to it. And the key here is to clear up your cache or space in your mind, or make more space such that your attention is able to grab more things. So being a computer engineer, I think these terms come very, very, I'm able to relate to these better. It's easy for a computer to, we have a concept called random access memory for computers, where they bring in what they've got to work on for faster, quicker access. And once that work is done, that RAM or cache is cleared to bring in the next set of things. But as humans, strangely, the thought just came that for us, the past is in our attention. Probably the future is in our attention of what we will do, what we've not done. But the present has a very, very small space in our attention. And that's where we need to work. So here are a few practices. And I know we are all very busy people. We barely have time for ourselves. There's so much to be done. We try to meditate different times. For what happens, sometimes we need something just before that difficult conversation we want to go and have with our boss about something, or with a peer or a colleague about something that's not happening right. Or maybe you need to go for a presentation, for a client meeting, and you're not sure how it would turn out, and that's making you very anxious. You're wondering, what do I do? There's so much going on in my life. I don't know. I'm so restless right now. And this is where you would have a short pause that would help you align all your resources, all your faculties to the moment in the present, and do your best in that. So this is the one practice I'd like to share with you. And I have been practicing it religiously over the last couple of years since I learned this from Richard, who leads the Search Inside Yourself Leadership Institute. 3 breaths for attention. The first breath, pay attention to the process of breathing that brings you to the present moment that you're still breathing. Second breath, allow yourself to relax. And in the third breath, ask yourself, what is important to me now, at this moment? You could do it when you feel triggered or before an important or difficult conversation with boss, client, peer, tutor. And at this point, I would like to share with you, I don't know if it's observable, but I can see a difference in the pace of my voice as I did that. Here is acceptance, another micro practice that we could do anytime, anywhere. Mainly when you are covered with self-doubt. Am I good enough? Can I do it? This is too much for me. It's just breathe. Bring your attention to the actual process of breathing. Air going in through your nostrils, into your throat, into your chest, into your belly. And as you inhale, say, I am being my best. As you inhale, say, I am being my best. As you exhale, say to yourself, I will let go of the rest. So you're allowing yourself to just focus on who you are, being your best version, and leaving it at that. With this, I would like to welcome all into a mindfulness practice for breathing. For the next 5 minutes, I would play an audio. That's an audio-led meditation practice that would. Marissa, if you could
find a relaxed, comfortable position.
Marissa, if you could let me know if the audio is loud and clear.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
So find a relaxed, comfortable position. Seated on a chair,
Yeah, it is fine.
on the floor, on a cushion.
Okay. So as we get into this, I would suggest that if you're standing, just find a relaxed place to sit. You can keep your eyes open or close them. If there are people around you, children, spouse, whatever, it's okay. You can do it anywhere. You don't need to find yourself in an exclusive place. Just go with it.
So find a relaxed, comfortable position. Seated on a chair or on the floor, on a cushion. Keep your back upright, but not too tight. Hands resting wherever they're comfortable. Tongue on the roof of your mouth or wherever it's comfortable. And you can notice your body from the inside. Noticing the shape of your body, the weight, touch. And let yourself relax and become curious about your body. seated here, the sensations of your body, the touch, the connection with the floor or the chair. Relax any areas of tightness or tension. Just breathe, soften. And now begin to tune into your breath in your body. Feeling the natural flow of breath. Don't need to
I think we lost the audio.
It might be in your abdomen,
It's back on. Thank you.
maybe in your chest or throat, or in your nostrils. See if you can feel the sensations of breath, one breath at a time. When one breath ends, the next breath begins. Now, as you do this, you might notice that your mind may start to wander. You might start thinking about other things. If this happens, this is not a problem. It's very natural. Just notice that your mind has wandered. You can say thinking or wandering in your head softly. And then gently redirect your attention right back to the breathing. So we'll stay with this for some time in silence, just a short time. Noticing our breath, from time to time getting lost in thought and returning to our breath. See if you can be really kind to yourself in the process. And once again, you can notice your body, your whole body seated here. Let yourself relax even more deeply. And then offer yourself some appreciation for doing this practice today. Whatever that means to you. Finding a sense of ease and well-being for yourself in this day.
With this, I'd like to share some of the references that I've made use of during this presentation. And I would want to end with this quote from Lao Tzu. To the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Over to you, Marissa. I do see some questions.
Thank you so much. That was quite refreshing, actually, especially on a Friday to just do a small exercise, felt very refreshing. Yes, I'm so glad that there are questions as well. Wow. So somebody is asking, how will I know if mindfulness is working? Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, I think we do have certain assessments, pre and post. So
Okay.
there is like check your mindfulness score. And then I did that for, a group of participants earlier. The problem, not the problem, the key here is that it's not something that, over a day, over 2 days, you would find out. It's something that, if you're practicing regularly over 6 months and a year, you would find out. You would know and experience for yourself. You don't need assessments or scores that check your mindfulness score for that. How will you know if it's working? If you feel lesser anxious at situations that usually made you more anxious, if you are able to control your temper in situations where you are unable to do that. So yeah, that's how you would know it.
Right. I think it's more of being self-aware and noticing smaller changes that happen. I'm sure it happens in its due time and not overnight. So yes. Somebody else was also asking how to calm oneself in a crisis situation at work.
Okay. The first question is you mentioned that the point on self-awareness and yeah. So usually, when we get a crisis situation, you feel that the world is going to end. Going to end. There's not going to be any tomorrow. There's not going to be. It's just now, just here. If you are to calibrate what is the extent of this crisis situation, you all are in it together. And the sun is still going to rise tomorrow. Yeah. So I think that awareness and being present there, that being anxious or being triggered by it will not help resolve that crisis situation. It would rather diminish your own capabilities to manage that. And further, if you're leading a group of people, you yourself being triggered will make the others go panic. Right? So, and that would definitely not lead to the best answers. So, other than I feel doctors who are dealing with life and death situations, most of the corporates are, some maybe, most of them are not. Yeah, and that's what I think. The awareness of where you are right now, what is the full impact of the situation on your life, and who you need to be at this moment to manage it well. Do you need to be an anxious leader? Do you need to be a panicked worker? Who you need to be?
Right. So this is something we have to ask ourselves.
Yeah, and so some of the real things that I have seen work, people have gone for a run. They come out of a meeting that's gone really, really bad. They're in a very bad shape of mind. They go for a run. And running increases the endorphins in our brain, and that helps. Some sleep on it.
Right.
Your mind is absolutely full of things. You don't know what to do. Take a nap. Take a 15-minute break. Take a nap. Do something that makes you happy. If you have that luxury, if you like to paint, if you like to sing, take a 5-minute break to do that, and that releases good hormones, endorphins, that brings you back to yourself, and you're better in charge of making the right decisions. And we discussed the 3 short breaths and acceptance. Those are very, very handy. When you can't do anything, when you can't take a break, just be there and notice your breathing. I think that noticing a breathing helps a lot, because a lot of times, you're in a conversation where everybody's shouting at everyone, and you can feel your heart really jumping. Then just notice it. The first step is to calm yourself down.
Right. Right. I feel the same. My heart doesn't race when my palms, hands become cold, like, ice cold when I'm nervous or I'm anxious about something. And I just like rub them, doesn't help. But at times I have noticed that when I just, close my eyes and just try to numb the noise, basically focus on myself and the breathing, it has helped me calm down. I'm sure it is definitely going to help a lot of us, whoever faces crisis. And I think the definition of crisis is different for everybody. So yes, that also.
So our body senses things before our mind does. And that's why you see your palms going cold, or hard, because your body is preparing you for the next command that the brain is going to give.
Right.
Probably the brain still doesn't know what's the next command. The brain is still thinking. So for you to be aware that my palms have started, and sometimes the body sends wrong signals to the brain, confused signals, that perceived threat. And then there is a science behind it as well, and probably some other day when we have more time, we could discuss it. So that's where, rubbing your palms together to calm your body that, hey, it's okay, don't get agitated. I'm there, I'll handle it. Kind of.
Right. On that note, we have another question here which says, sometimes work gets overwhelming and prioritizing a task becomes difficult. Any tips on prioritizing tasks?
So there are a lot of thinking tools that help, in us for to help us in prioritizing tasks. We have that urgent, important 2x2 matrix, and these are not entirely bookish tools. Put down, make a list of everything you have to do today or over next 3 months or a year, what you have to do, and then think what is important to you. What are more meaningful tasks related to your life or career growth or goals, and what are the urgent things that you need to do right now, like uh, if there's a webinar or a meeting or a presentation to be done, then that has to be done right now. So I think that's one very easy and straightforward thing that you can do.
Right. Aisha is asking, I get distracted easily, or rather, my mind wanders a lot while working, and this has put me in tight spots with deadlines. How do I stay more focused? Okay, any tips on how to stay focused? That would be of great help.
So my question back to her is, she has put her in tight spots with deadlines. How important were the deadlines to her?
Right.
Right. And I think that's where we need to answer ourselves. Where are we spending our time on? Are we spending, and even, linking it with the previous one, it's okay to prioritize things in urgent and important. The key here is we don't know for many times what is urgent for us and what is important. And we put everything in all over the place. So mind wanders a lot in work, want to bring in more focus. My question would be, why do you think it's important for you to not let deadlines pass off? Right? Or if it's because that there is so many other things going on in your life that need to be taken care of at that time, and that's not, letting you focus on your work. One method I learned from my own mentor was a parking lot. So before you enter doing something, like you want to sit and focus only on your work, but there are 10 different things that need to be taken care of. You just take a notepad, some sort of a notepad, and put down everything that needs to be done except of that work that you're doing right now. Clear your mind that, hey, you're there in my list, I'm going to come back to you when I can, but for the next 2 hours I'm going to focus on this. So that's why the mind does not need to continuously bring it up so that you don't forget it. You made a note of it, and even if it's personal things that are bothering you, just put it out there and say that you're there, stay there for the next 2 hours, let me focus on this.
Right. I have also faced this in the beginning, like early years, where fresh out of college, want to do everything, and life is a lot different from college. College, you feel you can do anything and everything, but when you join work and you join corporate, and you're in a corporate space, it's not the same. And there you have to actually, it's multitasking is a thing, but then you realize that individual tasks also demand a lot of time and attention. To streamline and to come to a mindset that I need to sit down and do this, it took me a while, and I'm sure it's definitely going to help Aisha with whatever points you just shared, that she will have to sit down and focus and ask herself that how important is this task, how important is it for me to meet this deadline, and set a plan to do it.
I think I'm sure she would be dealing with a lot more than that. That is making her not being able to focus, and she should allow herself that liberty at times.
Right. Yeah. How much practice or effort is required to reach that calmness stage? Aishwarya is asking.
Question back to her. What is that calmness stage? How do you define that?
I'm not sure. Aishwarya, if you like, could just type in. Yeah.
It would be different for Dalai Lama. It would be different for Barack Obama. It would be different for all
You and
for
me.
people like you and me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It would be different for Aishwarya. So it entirely depends. And once you start practicing, only then you would realize what your calmness stage is, where you want to be. And it's a thing you do for life. If you would ask probably Dalai Lama, he would say that he's still not.
I want to throw this question back at you. What is your calmness stage like?
What is my calmness stage like? I can observe myself becoming angry.
Okay.
I can observe myself getting triggered or troubled, or and that's where I think I have that choice at that point. Do I want to continue that? Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm like, it's going to give me, this venting out will give me that pleasure. I'm okay doing that. And sometimes I feel that I can do better. It's okay. So that's where I think we should aspire to be able to observe ourselves going through an emotion.
Yeah.
We necessarily don't need to, we definitely don't need to be at a stage where you are not going through any ups and downs in emotions. It's fun to be in those emotional turmoils at times, and only when you are angry do you realize that, when you're sad, you realize the value of being happy, right? So it's fun. But at the same time, you're in control of it. You don't let them overwhelm you, or let you ruin your decisions. Let them make decisions for you.
Yeah. I think that's very important. That's a very important lesson here. Like being able to acknowledge what you're feeling, and also not giving that emotion that power to control you entirely, but being in power of those emotions. I think that's something all of us have to learn. I'm sure it's like a long process.
It's a long process.
Yeah.
Some people, I think, are born with it. Some people develop it, practice. And some people probably just, I don't know, they just show that they have it, but they don't have it.
Absolutely. There's also another question. This question is quite interesting, actually. Does the perception of oneself affect mindfulness?
If she means perception of oneself as self-image, or self, how my own self-identity of who I am.
Okay.
If that's what she means, I'm not sure. How does that affect? Does that affect mindfulness? I think mindfulness would have an effect, would in fact help you understand who you are, your own self-image, would help improve that in a way, as it helps us improve the empathy, the emotional regulation aspect. So I wouldn't say that the self-image should affect mindfulness. Mindfulness is a practice. How you do it, yeah.
Does a state of mind play a role there?
So, in what state of mind you are, then you would do some, you would. So, if you're triggered, are you able to bring yourself back?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And if you're able to do that, then you're being mindful. You are mindful.
Yes. Okay. On this note, I actually would want to ask this question. I'm not entirely sure if this would be the right question here. So at times we've seen people who are completely given into their emotions. They let their emotions get the better of them. We've also seen this happen at workplaces, and I think at times even leaders, they give into that pressure at times. So sometimes anger gets the better of them in all of it. In these circumstances, what can one do? Like, say, I can see somebody reaching that peak, and I know that now they're going to have that outburst, or now they're going to give in. Me as just a bystander, or me as a colleague, how can I help them if there is anything that I could do?
So if you know about this person, know what this person, what is triggering this person, right? You could help that leader become aware of it.
Right. Okay.
That hey, we know that this is a situation that something has gone wrong, and you're definitely upset about it. Acknowledging the other person's emotions, right? That gives them a sense that I, you know, I'm not the only person who sees wrong here. There are others as well. And then you see that, and then when they see that everyone is on the same page, they understand me. Then automatically, the anger comes, converts into more collaborate. It depends what has triggered the anger. But
Right.
if that person feels that other people understand me, then that emotion of anger, mellows down.
Right. Yeah. So I'm sure. I think that has to. I think at times even. I mean, you are also scared to speak. You know, like I think I am. Though sometimes I think it's also to do a little with the hierarchy of sorts at workplaces.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm just speaking in general terms.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very fortunate that my team and the leaders at my workplace have this open chain of communication. So that is quite nice. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
speaking like in general, where I have seen like previous experiences at least, where sometimes you're also hesitant to walk up to them and to even say that, you know what, I think I know you're upset, or I know this is very upsetting. So that itself is a challenge for most of us.
See, I agree with you, and I am relating to my own experiences at work on different levels of hierarchy, starting with as the as a junior most analyst. I think what leaders have always wanted, and forward-looking good leaders, is that they want people to perform, to work, to get be done, and when they see that and that's where probably sometimes anger comes, when they are not able to, when they don't feel in control of the situation, and then they start moving around the blame. And at that point, if you're able to go up to them and give them the confidence that you'll get, that this is going to be done this way, and soothe their feelings, that's what helps. What otherwise would also help is, and that's where we need to build that culture of speaking up, going back to that leader and giving that feedback to the person that your anger at this point didn't help correct the situation. Rather, it created this atmosphere. So it's not helping. So that's where the organizational culture becomes important. And a lot of organizations now have that kind of outspoken and frank culture, where people go up to them and that, sorry, I know I made a mistake, but you're getting shouting it down me is not helping.
Right. Right.
So
Earlier you also mentioned about, you gave this roadmap, and I saw that empathy was a big part of it. And I think in the last 1.5 to almost 2 years of working from home, I think corporates are becoming more and more empathetic in your approach, because they all see it that we are all sailing in a similar boat. We face similar challenges while working from home and everything. In mindfulness, how much importance or weightage does empathy in itself hold? Like, how much should you?
I think mindfulness is all about empathy, and mindfulness helps you build empathy. The first of it is empathy to yourself. Understanding, being aware of yourself and accepting it. That uh, when you're continuously being bothered by uh, thoughts of what might happen, or negative thoughts, mindfulness is not shrugging off or putting them that no, I'm not going to think negatively. I'm only going to think positively. It's not that. It is accepting that yes, I'm going through this phase. I'm in a patch. Yeah, fine. That's okay. Allowing yourself to be sad if you're really sad, and not trying to like, okay, let's go out for a drink, or let's go out for a drive just for the sake of being happy. Do that if you feel better, but not to hide your feelings. So mindfulness is all about being empathetic first towards yourself and then towards others, being more aware of what others are feeling.
Right.
So if you're in a group of 10 people and you're speaking, and you're not noticing how they might be dozing off, or they might be distracted by things, or they might be super excited. So you're able to move your consciousness, attention, from what you're doing, speaking, to also the people. So being able to give your whole self, whole attention to the present moment, and absorbing as much information you can from there.
Wow. There's one more question. I like the micro practice of being aware of our breathing. I'm sure you read this too there. Any key small actions to take on being mindfulness at home, especially as a parent being a working mom?
I think start your day with meditation or yoga. That goes, if you can, that's the best thing that you can do. Give yourself, set aside some time which is your time. You need to schedule that, just like the other meetings that you have scheduled in the day. It could be even 15 minutes, 20 minutes, where you're just by yourself doing what you need to do. And the 3 breaths has actually, it's like anytime, anywhere. Whenever you want, just focus on your breathing. So that makes you aware that you are a mind living inside a body, and brings your attention to the breath and not to everything else that's randomly coming and going in your mind. And if somebody were to ask me that what were you thinking 2 minutes ago, and you would be like, huh, what? Things keep going, moving around. So just try to bring your attention to your breath as many times in the day that you can.
Right. How do you extend mindfulness to kids?
How do you extend mindfulness to
Kids.
Similar. Let them focus on their breath. Inhale, exhale. I think a lot of our practices that we do in yoga are help in building mindfulness. So I think with kids, the best thing is that get into some yoga with them and practice breathing exercises. That's the best. The others, you could. There are more things that you could sit with them to understand. Help them express themselves better, make them feel that they're heard. Not most of the times when kids come to us and say that, hey, I want this or I want to do that, we keep telling them our own judgment of that, whether it's right, whether it's wrong. Instead of us telling, ask more. So
Right.
so those are some of the things that we could do.
Yeah, absolutely. How to structure the mindfulness program with today's hybrid model of working? We've spoken about this in bits and pieces. I think first probably might have missed out on it. So if you could just summarize in brief and give
I think if this question is from an organizational perspective or for an individual, that would be different. How do organizations build a mindfulness program for their employees working in remote and office works? That would be a larger discussion, because how do you get the buy-in? Simple ways in which you can do it is allow people to take a couple of minutes, 2 minutes, check-in sessions or mindfulness sessions before any key meeting starts.
Right.
And most of the times our meetings are on Zoom. So, give them that first 30 seconds. Everybody is off camera, off on mute, and you're doing your, you're bringing your attention here. So it could be different. It could be different for different organizations depending upon the kind of demographics they have working. They have, but yeah, that could be a starter.
And I'm assuming for individual, it's just sitting by yourself and collecting your thoughts and calming yourself and bringing your attention and focus to where you're at.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. There is a question. While self-awareness and self-acceptance are important steps to take, many of us choose to be in denial. Oh, that's a big word bomb. Boom. Denial is a big word. We do not want to accept that maybe we need to pay more attention to ourselves because it all starts from there. How do we break this for ourselves and for our loved ones?
I didn't get the first part of the question. Could you repeat that?
While self-awareness and self-acceptance are important steps to take, many of us choose to be in denial. We do not want to accept that maybe we need to pay more attention to ourselves because it all starts from there. So how do you break this mold of denial? Because if you don't pay more attention to yourself, to your body, to what needs to be done there.
Denial is an interesting thing, and there could be, I could say that you need to practice self-compassion. You need to be kind to yourself. And we usually have such cases while we are into coaching, when we are coaching our members, and a lot of them do experience denial. Hey, no, that's not who I am. This is not who I am. But if you have the self-awareness, if you're aware that these are the things, and you don't want to accept that probably you are part of the puzzle, or there's something within you that needs to change, it might not necessarily be denial. It might be the difficulty that is associated with that change. And that's where you need to probably dive deeper, that why. Is it because you have been, you've been wronged, or you've not been understood properly? You feel that you're right, but everybody else believes that probably you're not right. So, is your own self-image coming in the way of who you are? Is accepting that in some way going to do a harm to your own self-esteem and self-worth of who you are? And that's why you don't want to? So what is the underlying reason behind that denial? Is it the difficulty level of that change that you need to bring in, or is it the impact that it's going to have on your self-image of who you are? And I think that's where your next steps would lie.
Right. Wow, you've given a lot to think. Like, I didn't even ask this question, but now I'm like, this has got me thinking. Some work, some homework for us for the weekend now, for sure. Any small exercises to practice mindfulness? We've already covered this, but apart from breathing, are there any other exercises that anyone can try?
So yeah, the two exercises that I shared were essentially anytime, anywhere practices. Apart from that, you could look up Google. There would be a host of practices on mindfulness. What I would say is that meditation helps a lot. So, and you would get a lot of guided meditation. There's body scan, which is also in yoga. When you do that shavasana, bringing your attention from your toes to your head. So I think anything that makes you focus on what you're thinking, not essentially telling you that don't think. None of these is like make your mind. Initially, I used to believe that meditation is that your mind should be empty, you should not be thinking. And most of the time, it used to be, a thought is coming, take it out. Thought is coming, take it out. Now it's like, let it be. Just try to bring your attention back to your breathing. That's all.
Okay, I didn't realize it went on mute. Right, yeah. So how do you stop overthinking, and also how do I stress less? Oh, this is
If there was an answer for it, I would be, I think, I would already have had a Nobel Prize.
absolutely. I'm sure there's no denying it. How to stop overthinking and how to stress less. Oh, good Lord. The question itself is giving me stress.
No, no, no. I think this is something that everyone's dealing with. So our brain, and we all living creatures or animals on the planet were designed to be like roaming around. That's what the last several hundred thousands of years of evolution has taught us, right? That we were nomadic creatures in the jungle and hunting and gathering food. So that's what our bodies and mind was designed for. Over the last 500 years, so 1,000 years, we've come in more 2,000 years, we've come in more civilized societies. And now, over the last several decades, come within a small room and chair. So our mind now has a lot of free time. And where does that free time go? In thinking and thinking and thinking. So I think how to stop overthinking is make your body exercise.
Right. Give it something to do. Yeah.
So yeah, go for a run for an hour, go for some exercise, do yoga, interact with people, go with whatever friends, 2, 3, or family members, spend time with them. Pick up some hobby that you want to do. Someone said, yeah, Lisa said, volunteer, serve others. So yeah, keep yourself, give your mind some stuff to do. That having said that, sometimes it needs to do the heavy thinking job. Yes, definitely, if there's a problem to solve, you will need to do some thinking job. But you have to keep your mind energetic to do that. If you've already troubled your mind and de-energized it by thinking of all the 100 things that are not relevant, how is it going to focus on that one thing that's important?
Yeah, yeah. And thinking about those 100 things that you give yourself reasons that things will not work out, you also at times reach a point where you're almost about to give up just before you find the solution. You know? Yeah. And I think some of the great success stories of a lot of people are looking at the examples of these people who have done 100 things and failed. So you've just like given them a guide to these things don't work, and given them a map to like the straight road to success sort of a thing. So yeah, definitely. And one very important thing that I did make a note of is like even noted it down here is that you have a choice, to how to respond to your emotion, how you want to feel, how you want to respond, react. In fact, I think we forget it a lot of times that we have a choice.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a quote from Viktor Frankl that between the response, between the stimuli, whatever is triggering you, and our response to it, there's a space.
Right.
And that is a space where you empower yourself to make the choice.
Yeah, I think this is also where you can, this overthinking question, just now whoever asked, this is also where you can choose cannot overthink about something, because you have a choice to let it slip your mind. Like it does not require that much time and attention maybe. So I guess that's
Yeah,
where
yeah.
we are at. So I would like to ask, like we've answered pretty much all the questions that came in through the Q&A. So I'm just going to throw it out there. If anybody would like to know anything more from Nivedita, please feel free to drop in your questions. But other than that, thank you so much, Nivedita. That was indeed very wonderful. And like I said, you've given us quite a bit to reflect. Firstly, to go back and think and assess actually, and relook at the way we, how do I say it, make our lives a routine, make these mundane things that we do. And I'm sure that by putting in a little bit of mindfulness and mindful practices, we are definitely going to become better individuals, more mindful of things around us, who are more self-aware. Actually, I think the world today needs more self-aware individuals.
Self-aware and accepting.
Accepting, definitely. I think it's only when you are self-aware and that you're accepting that you also unlock the power of being able to forgive. I think that's another discussion for another day. Oh my good Lord, I need to sit down with you. I mean, I can totally imagine us sitting and, sipping a cup of coffee and having this endless discussion. And Lisa, you're invited to join. Pratishta and all of you lovely ladies, you're all invited to join whenever that happens. I'm sure you have this last slide where people can reach out to you if they would want to, yeah, get to that. Absolutely. So all you lovely ladies, the session ends here, yes, but you can always feel free to reach out to Nivedita at www.valuemind.com, or you can write to her at cnivedita@valuemind.com. And our lovely speaker will be more than happy to extend.
More than happy, yes. I'm always very thrilled to speak on this topic and answer such amazing questions, because all these questions also help me get better awareness of myself. Each time you're answering a question, you are like digging into yourself and figuring it out.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just one last question before we wrap up. Actually, your journey so far on in mindfulness, if you were to describe it in 3 words, what would you say? What would be the
Three
three?
words. 3 words. 3 words would be okay. Nah. Ah. Okay.
Okay, all right. Okay, I was thinking that you're throwing some like really big word bombs on us. It's actually that simple. Oh, okay. Yeah, these are probably the 3 words that we actually will be saying when we have this self-realization and self-awareness. Ki, oh, acha aise. And then be like, okay, that's it. Yeah, this is it. This is how I feel now. I'm allowed to feel this way. So thank you so much for this wonderful session, and to all our lovely ladies for tuning in. For I know it's Friday, I know weekend is here, and all of you who have kids, it's another thing. You all are working 365 days, 7 days a week, 24/7. But for taking some time out of your busy schedules to join in for this session means a lot to us. So thank you so much. And Nivedita, thank you super, super much. Like I am so happy that I got this opportunity here to interact. And I can say that the feeling is mutual with all our audience who has joined in. To Yes Bank and to Jobs for Her. Again, thank you so much. To all the ladies, like I said, please note down the mail ID that's right on the screen. You can take a screenshot if you'd like, and feel free to reach out to Nivedita on any tips or any assistance. She's also a certified ICF coach, right? So I'm sure she has a lot more to offer to you guys than just this one time bound session. So go type in your mails and send a hey to Nivedita.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Marissa. It was a pleasure being here.
So thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. And let's all stay safe. I know that the times are difficult, but we are all tougher and stronger. So stay safe. Happy weekend. And we'll see you all soon.
Wish you the same. Happy weekend.